Welcome back to DMW Sports. Happy to have everybody back here. We are here for the 2025 Arizona Cardinals season preview. Thank you guys for coming by. Excited to talk about this team. Good improving direction. Certainly things are looking up. A lot of excitement around the team. Went out, spent in free agency to try and add to the defensive side of the ball with Mike Austin-Fort. And obviously built around what Jonathan Gannon wants to do on that defensive side of the ball. I thought was able to do some things pretty impressive schematically to get this Arizona Cardinals team to play well on that side of the ball. And look, they've got an exciting offense. Obviously, they get Trey Benson back, hopefully for healthy for a full season to back up with James Conner. Marvin Harrison Jr., a lot of excitement about what he can become in his second season. Kyler Murray, of course, plays an exciting brand of football when he's able to kind of scramble around and create some plays as well. And we'll talk about what ends up on his shoulders. But again, team direction for the Arizona Cardinals is improving. And now we want to see if they can take that next step ultimately under Jonathan Gannon and Drew Petzing, of course. So as far as this head coaching and front office combination is concerned, I do give, Jonathan Gannon about a C. I think the way in which he's been able to lead this team and always made them fight, tooth and nail to not just roll over. Even then sometimes in which their roster has been a little bit underpowered, I think has been kind of impressive. I can't say that I've loved anything necessarily that's happened on the offensive side of the ball outside their run game being pretty creative. Their offensive line coach actually moved over to the Cowboys, so we see how that kind of ends up affecting that aspect of it. I think obviously the defensive side has been impressive, and he brought some interesting things over from Philadelphia, obviously, when he took this head coaching job. We'll see how he improves. And really, there's a little bit of a prove year for Jonathan Gannon to try and take that defensive talent that they now added in free agency, some of the guys that they've drafted, and try to take it now to the next level. And so I'm interested to see what ends up happening as far as that's concerned. And about a C minus as far as my Austin Ford is concerned. I think there's been some draft picks that have been questionable to say the least. Sometimes in which you're like, I don't know if I love what they're doing, but there are aspects of if these guys are healthy and if things come together, then I'll be excited. So C minus right now for GM, but that grade certainly can improve, as I think the entire roster is improving as well. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get to this offseason in review. As far as the subtractions are concerned, I would say the Cardinals didn't really lose too many important pieces. Kaiser Wright out of the linebacker room, Dennis Gardeck and Jackson Burton, nothing really too crazy as far as that aspect is concerned. The addition standpoint, I thought, again, investments on the defensive side of the ball to try and shore up as far as that front seven, specifically Josh Sweat, obviously coming off of a really good season for the defending champion Philadelphia Eagles, comes over and reunites with his old defensive coordinator and Jonathan Gannon here in Arizona to, again, help out that defensive line as well. Bring a veteran presence from that standpoint, too. Akeem Davis gathered to help the second level of that defense, kind of playing that will linebacker position makes a lot of sense. Dalvin Tomlinson adds some beef up front from a run defending standpoint. And then Jacoby Brissett to be the backup quarterback for this team in 2025. And then as far as the draft was really good and one that got me really excited about where the Cardinals are going, specifically on the defensive end, but just in general. Walter Nolan was one of my favorite prospects in the draft class. He is an interior disruptor out of Ole Miss through and through. I thought that, he was somebody that could easily have been DT1 in this class as far as that is concerned. Dealing with a little bit of injury to start out. Hopefully he can get on the field sooner rather than later and really make an impact because I love what he can bring to the table for the Cardinals. Will Johnson slipped in the draft a little bit due to some injury concerns, a little bit due to some people not necessarily loving his athletic profile. I think he's a really good outside cornerback prospect and is going to help the secondary a lot when he is out there on the field. Jordan Birch was also one of my favorite defensive line prospects as far as the 2025 NFL draft. Out of Oregon, a lot of versatility, big 290, plays with power. He can play a 3-tech if you want to rush on inside on late downs. He can play outside as a hand in the dirt, defensive end. He can also give you a little bit of odd front versatility if you want to put him inside as a kind of 4-eye as well. So a lot of versatility for Jordan Birch, a guy that understands how to get after the quarterback and is big enough to really run stuff if necessary as well. Cody Simon, linebacker, to go ahead and help with that depth as well. And Denzel Burke helping with the depth on the back end makes a lot of sense too. So I like the draft, and I like the fact that they continue to invest in the defensive side of the ball, whether it's in free agency or as far as obviously the prospects that they brought in, because of the fact that was really the side of the ball that was lacking a lot of talent as well. So good picks for the Arizona Cardinals, good grades as far as I'm concerned. Let's go ahead and talk about Kyler Murray, the face of the franchise. So let's talk about Kyler Murray, who comes in 16th rank as far as my quarterback tiers, just bang on average, right, just above the Mendoza line, if you will, of the top half of the league of quarterbacks. Kyler Murray is a guy that I've always appreciated for the fact that he does have that dual threat ability, and I think has a really good arm. I think there is some question marks as far as the mentality, not the video game stuff for me personally. I think it's more so of, hey, him staying in the moment, being that fierce competitor. That is an aspect of quarterback play that I think is underrated and not talked about enough. That's something that I think can come under question sometimes for Kyler Murray. But for this tape specifically, this is what I wanted to highlight. The ability to throw the ball into the intermediate areas of the field in between the numbers is going to be the key for his development and entirely really the Cardinals offense to take the next step. You're going to see throws to Greg Dortch. You're going to see throws to Marvin Harrison Jr. You're going to see throws to Michael Wilson. Those are the main three guys that have to step up, in addition, obviously, to Trey McBride, because there weren't great investments as far as the wide receiver core was concerned this offseason, which I think is fine. I like that trio ultimately. Kyler Murray has to stand in the pocket, be able to deliver these types of throws on time, with accuracy, in structure, and be able to create those plays, because those are plays that ultimately are going to be able to take this offense to the next level. They already have a good run design. They've got some good run blocker along that offensive line. If he can be able to unlock the intermediate portion of the field, the places in which that really made Marvin Harrison Jr. the best wide receiver prospect coming out of his draft class, that's going to take this offense to the next level. So 16th is a fair ranking for Kyler Murray at this point. I still think he has more upside to really be a top 12 guy. These are those that he has to make on a more consistent basis for me to feel great about putting him higher. Talk about this offense that I currently have, graded out as a kind of a B minus, and again, a little bit of a higher grade than you've probably heard in some of these other videos. But I think this offense does have a lot of talent to be able to work with. There are some real concerns, particularly along this offensive line. Obviously, they went ahead and drafted Paris Johnson Jr. 2 years ago. I thought you saw some improvements from him at that left tackle position, but I think they really still need another leap to feel really good about him as a franchise left tackle. The offensive line still has holes really in the interior, and I think that's why Will Hernandez, who unfortunately is already hurt, was brought back. We'll see how that ends up progressing. Jonah Williams came over from Cincinnati. I thought was below average, but at least a stabilizing force at the right tackle position. Again, the ability to have their run design kind of protect the rest of their offense is a big key for this, to be able to keep them on schedule. And I think this offensive line did succeed and be able to have one of the better rushing attacks the last 2 years. And that's going to be another big key, because I don't love this offensive line continuing to hold up in pass protection as well. Wide receiver wise, I talked about it. I like the top three as far as the trio is concerned. Still believe in Marvin Harrison Jr.'s upside as a true number one wide receiver in the National Football League. And I think he showed a lot on tape, which I'll talk about a little bit later on, that was better than maybe his statistics would suggest for his rookie season as well. Michael Wilson, I think, can be developed into a really good, number two outside wide receiver too. I liked him coming out of Stanford. Greg Dortch has proven to be a pretty solid slot option in the National Football League as well, and it gets a nice fan club going as well. Zay Jones, as far as depth is concerned, it's okay. I wouldn't say it's anything necessarily to write home about. Tight end wise, I like Tip Ryman out of Illinois. It's a nice little blocking tight end to complement what is one of the best tight ends in National Football League, point blank period, Trey McBride. He continues to be featured in this offense for a good reason. I think he's a really good secondary target to what Marvin Harrison Jr. can bring to the table. I think they need to use him a little bit more in the red zone in that aspect, though, as well. Obviously, talked about Jacoby Brissett coming in to back up Kyler Murray, and then this running back room has more upside than it did last year, because James Conner is a steady veteran presence. Trey Benson, I think in his second year, a little bit healthier, hopefully can provide a nice 1-2 punch. And if you hear, what James Conner has been talking about and saying that this is going to be a 1A, 1B situation, then you're certainly encouraged as far as what things can look like for this Cardinals backfield and run game in general. So overall, B minus offense, and an offense that I'm bullish on, as long as we see some more development from Kyler Murray to unlock these weapons in a different way. And along those lines, let's go ahead and talk about the defense. So let's talk about this defense. I think is actually really well positioned to compete within the NFC West specifically. And it has to do with the headliner of Buda Baker, who's been one of the most consistent, really good safeties in the National Football League. And I think Jonathan Gannon has unlocked a different level of versatility for his game to be able to move him around and have some answers to the kind of motion offense that they see, whether it's Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, and Clint Kubiak from that standpoint, who is now the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks after being the offensive coordinator for the New Orleans Saints last year. I think that Budda Baker's versatility allows them to kind of deal with some of those motions that they end up putting out there, which is nice to see, certainly. And you look at the rest of this roster, it matches up as well. Starting keeping it in that secondary, I think Jalen Thompson has proven to be a solid complement to what Budda Baker brings to the table. I really still like the Darian Taylor Demerson, Rabbit Taylor Demerson, of course, came out of the draft last year, one of my underrated safeties as well. Max Melton, I think, has shown a really good athleticism and understanding for the position. Garrett Williams is a really nice nickel cornerback with a lot of versatility as well. Again, we talked about the Will Johnson pick to be able to add to that outside cornerback depth. If he can step in as a rookie and be a solid guy, this secondary looks to really come together very well from that aspect. So the linebacker spot, again, trying to add Akeem Davis Gaither to give a little bit of that versatility, the linebacker aspect. Again, Cody Simon giving a little bit of the depth piece too. Mac Wilson Sr., we'll see how he can kind of step up into that Mike linebacker role. The outside pass rush is very interesting at the linebacker position. Xavier Collins and Baron Browning have been there. Baron Browning has proven himself in Denver and now with the Cardinals to be a pretty good edge rusher that you can use on those downs as well. Josh Sweat, like I talked about, coming over from Philadelphia, coming off a really good year, certainly a threat to come off the edge. And my guy that I love a lot, BJ Ojulari, a guy that I liked at the draft 2 years ago. Again, hopefully he can stay healthy and hopefully he can really step up because I do love the talent that he brings to the table. Interior, as far as the defensive ends and the nose tackle position, again, Dalvin Tomlinson, I think, brings in some much needed beef as far as that nose tackle position is concerned. They brought over veteran Calais Campbell from Miami to add to Darius Robinson to what they want to do as far as the defensive end is concerned. Darius Robinson, their first round pick out of Mizzou last year, had an up and down season, dealt with some injuries. Hopefully he can kind of step up into his role as well. Then the Walter Nolan pick, obviously highly drafted interior kind of player. Again, has versatility to be that four-eye out front defensive end that you can play, and then you can play a little 3-tech on pass rush downs if you so choose to go with an even front rush. So I like Walter Nolan a lot. I think that he can take over this defense from an interior pass rush standpoint. Just got to get out there on the field, and I feel the same way about BJ Ojulari. So ultimately a C+ as far as this roster is concerned, but it has a lot of versatility and a lot of potential to be a lot better than that grade as well, under what Gannon wants to end up doing. So let's go ahead and talk about my breakout players. So I'm going on the risky side with my first breakout player with BJ Ojulari. I think the ability to get out there on the field is obviously going to be a question mark. He's coming off an ACL tear last year. It doesn't seem like he's necessarily going to be there to start week 1, which is a shame. But what I saw from him in 2023 was the pass rusher that I really liked coming out of Clemson, to be able to give, really offensive tackles a lot of issues coming off the edge. And the speed, the ability to understand pass rush leverage, the ability to bend the edge, of course, and also convert speed to power, I think, in a good manner too. I think he has the opportunity to really break out as far as the defense is concerned if he is healthy enough to play. And that may not, ultimately come this year. We'll have to see. But if it does, then I'm going to be really excited. Again, this is a back end that I think will give quarterbacks some issues as far as understanding what the picture has changed and give some time for guys to get after the passer. And obviously, there's a lot of different options to get after the passer in Arizona. But I think BJ Ojulari has a chance to certainly be a part of that as well. So I like BJ Ojulari a lot. If he's not healthy this year, then he's going to be a breakout player for me next year, because I do truly believe in his ability to that level. A little bit of breakout action for both of these players. And they're both headliners, so it's not necessarily that big of a breakout. But Marvin Harrison Jr., I think, can be unlocked to a different level. Again, being able to be used in the middle portions of the field, which I think was something that Kyler Murray didn't take enough advantage of, where this offense didn't scheme up enough. Use him a little bit more in the slot, move him around, get him those opportunities. Again, the things that make him really special and made him special at Ohio State was the ability to get open really over the middle of the field, and CJ Stroud to get and to use his accuracy to deliver the ball to him. If they can do that for 18 here in this Cardinals offense, I really think the sky's the limit for him. And then the secondary piece of this, and the thing that's also got me excited, and I think will be a point of emphasis for this Cardinals offense coming up in 2025, and will be really key for them to become one of the better offenses in the National Football League and make a difference for them to convert, really, is the red zone. And I think it's really featuring Trey McBride in the red zone. He simply did not have enough red zone targets, in my opinion. They need to use his obviously larger frame from the tight end position, his mismatch ability more often to be able to hopefully get the ball in the end zone on a more consistent basis. They have the run game. Now they have to be able to marry the run game to the pass ability and get the ball to Trey McBride to put the ball in the end zone on a consistent basis. If they can do that, then I think that they can certainly put up some points. And Trey McBride, again, one of the best tight ends in the National Football League, has the route running, has the hands, has the athleticism, has the frame to be able to be a significant threat to score, especially when they get into the red zone aspect of it. So that's what's got me excited, / a little bit of breakout potential. More Marvin Harrison Jr. over the middle in general, and more Trey McBride red zone targets. So let's talk about what's got me concerned. And obviously, I have Will Hernandez pictured here. The Arizona Cardinals ended up bringing him back after kind of releasing him a few years ago. It is a question mark as far as the interior offensive line is concerned, and the fact that they had to bring him back is not all that inspiring confidence as well. So, do they have enough to be able to continue to give Kyler Murray the pockets necessary for him, for his stature, to be able to get the ball over the middle of the field? And obviously, I talked about a lot, whether it's Marvin Harrison Jr., the other wide receivers, Greg Dortch, Michael Wilson, or Trey McBride. That is going to be the next key for this offense in the passing attack to really improve, because they get the ball outside the numbers. We know they can run the ball. Can they be able to stress defenses over the middle of the field is going to be the next thing. And an interior offensive line that keeps Kyler Murray clean and the pockets, intact is going to be a major portion of that. That is a major concern for me as far as where this team can go in 2025. My hot take surrounding the Arizona Cardinals is, with this team improving, with the defense getting better and their defensive investments that I think are going to end up paying off, with the ability for this offense to continue to add weapons as well. It seems like we're reaching the point where Kyler Murray is the limiting factor as far as this offense is concerned. And yes, you can point out the offensive line has its weaknesses. I think those are perfectly fair things to talk about. Do you love what Drew Petzing does with the offense? We'll see if he's able to add, enough versatility to the passing game. But Kyler Murray has got to come out with the mentality to try and get the ball over the middle of the field, to be able to move the ball on a consistent basis and create explosives there, and also use his legs and be comfortable doing so. There's been rumblings and rumors about, is he, more willing to run the ball on a consistent basis, which is understandable for a guy his size, but still, that is one of his, most redeeming qualities as a quarterback, is dual threat ability. So my hot take is he is currently sitting as the most limiting factor to the offense. And ultimately, that's probably a good place for the Cardinals to be, because they have made this bet on him being the franchise quarterback for understandable reasons. If he can do those things better and come with that mentality, then ultimately this offense has a really high, ceiling, in my opinion. Can he do it? We will certainly see. So we're going to wrap it up here with my predictions. And again, I think that this is an improving Arizona Cardinals team in 2025, a team that can be around 500. Can they compete to the division? I will say, as of right now, given the Rams' question marks at quarterback, given the fact the Niners have their injuries at wide receiver, and they're trying to, get their aspects of their defense that's really young to play up to their potential, it wouldn't be crazy to see them within the division race. Now, me personally, as far as the record prediction, I do have them around 7-10, and that being their finish. And again, that's more of a floor than a ceiling, in my opinion. If things go right, again, this could be a team that is competing for a playoff spot in the NFC West and NFC in general. My bold prediction, though, is I think that Marvin Harrison Jr. does go for 1,000 yards. I think Kyler Murray does make some strides as a passer over the middle of the field, and that unlocks 18, especially with some better usage from Drew Petzing, and puts him in a good position from that aspect. So I wanted to thank you guys so much for coming by. Please do like this video, and obviously check out the rest of the channel. Subscribe to the channel, DMW Sports, of course. We are at DMW Sports on TikTok and Twitter. Sports DMW on Instagram. Please make sure you come on back for more NFL season previews as we get closer to the season. Thank you guys. Have a good rest.